Hello and welcome back to New Wave Hockey. I'm your host, Link Dancevich, and today I have a very special episode. I want to talk about the big six defensemen in this upcoming NHL Draft class. We have not seen a defensive class this stacked since 2012. That's over a decade ago, and we are looking at six guys who could be drafted in the top 10. That hasn't happened since 2012, where there were 8 defensemen taken in the top 10. That's kind of insane, and I think it's worth mentioning and worth diving into. So today, I'm going to be going in alphabetically and talk about each one of the 6 defensemen and my personal opinions and where I rank them, and a little bit of a play in comparison for all of them, just so everyone knows exactly what you're getting and what I think about it, because they're very, very intriguing, and I think I have something to say very uniquely about all of them that I'm not going to be able to cover in as much detail in any other video. So here we go. Here's my take on the big 6 defensemen in this upcoming draft class. Starting off with Artyom Levshunov from Michigan State. This is the guy that I've seen the absolute most of in this entire draft class as a whole. I've seen him 3 times in person, and that's 3 times more than any other draft prospect in person that I've seen this year. I saw him twice in Michigan, one at Yost, one in Little Caesars. Loved those games. And I saw him again at Penn State, and he went off in Pacula, dude. 1 goal, 3 assists. Oh my goodness. He really is a very solid, dynamic, two-way defenseman that you can't really knock off the puck. 6'2", 200 pounds. This guy is built to run through you. He's excellent on his skates. It's something that I never really gave him credit for. He has great skating ability. He's very fast. He has some good separation speed, and you wouldn't know it. He's very stiff from the torso up. If you look at Matthew Wood last year, they have the exact same look when they're skating. It's kind of crazy, except Levshunov's a better skater and he just gets more movement under him. He really is one of the faster defensemen here. He's got a great passing ability. He's pretty good with the stick in his hands. He's the only defenseman here on this list where I would say that his wrist shot is better than his slap shot. He is okay. He's got one of the weaker shots here, and I think his defense is probably the better aspect of his game. Looking at him defensively and watching him in person, the little things that you don't pick up, when Trey Augustine was pressured and screened from the net, Levshunov was the guy to go push that forward out of the crease, and he does that consistently. He has a very good compete defensively, and he's somebody that I think you really can get a lot out of as a defenseman. He's probably the consensus to go the first out of all of these big 6 defensemen, and I can see why. There's a very good reason. I am not going to go out there and say he's the safest pick, because there is someone who I think is a bit of a safer pick, but he is about as safe a pick as it gets. He's got one of the best upsides, he's got one of the best floors, he's playing in the NCAA for goodness sake, so you know you're going to get a guy who's basically already NHL ready. Maybe needs another year at Michigan State, but we'll see. But Artyom Levshunov, he really is solid, and I think he's the guy at the end of the day who is going to go first out of all of these defensemen. Moving on to Anton Silayev from the KHL Torpedo. Now, say what you will, and go ahead, let it be said. But I will say a couple things, and then you can just kind of go in the comments and let me know who your defenseman is. And please, go let me know. 6'7", 210 pounds, one of the best skating abilities in the draft. Look at the way that he skates. It is advanced for somebody who would even be 5'10". I really am impressed every single time that I see him with the puck, without the puck, or just him skating at all. His edge work is probably the best in the draft. I really go back and forth between him and another guy. Anton Silayev, he really has some great speed and great separation under him with the skates. He's got shines of a great transition game, and let's talk about his defense. I earnestly think, because of how he's played in the KHL this season, you could plug him into an NHL defense next year, and he makes that defense better automatically. He could play in the NHL next year. That's my professional opinion. He looks incredible defensively. He's someone that can slot in amazingly on your PK, has some power play potential. Some people are comparing him to Zdeno Chara. I don't think that's very fair, because again, 6'7", oh, he's a tall defenseman, blah, blah, blah. No. I agree more with people who say he could develop into a Victor Hedman. There's no guarantee, obviously, and again, we don't know anything about his offensive style of game. I will say this, though, for his offensive game, he has the most points ever for a U18 defenseman in the KHL. You can never take anything away from that. He gets some good passes, he gets some good shots, so whatever, say what you will. I think he compares well to somebody who could develop into a Victor Hedman. His transition game's very well. He can make a great outlet pass. He can skate it himself. You can't go wrong with Anton Silayev. I think there's too many things, tools-wise, that look so good. What draws him back, he doesn't always make the right decisions. He doesn't have the best sense. But I think he has the will, because he's gotten better defensively over the course of the season. He did come out swinging with the offensive game, but I think that's just his coach telling him to be less selfish with the puck. And I think it's really helped out his game. It's helped out his draft capital because he's staying at the top. There are no questions about his defensive game at all. It's just about the offense, and I think that's something that can be worked around. It really can. So Anton Silayev, one of the most intriguing prospects in this entire draft alone. Now let's talk about Carter Yakemchuk from the Calgary Hitmen in the WHL. He is possibly the meanest player in this entire draft, and I really like Yakemchuk. I have grown to love this big dude because he is mean, he will hit, but he'll score goals too. I don't really have a very great comparison for him on defense because you can't really see it. I mean, I would love to say Mackenzie Weegar, but again, I don't really see it with the skating because the skating's not as developed. I want to say Radko Gudas because he's almost as mean. I want to say a modicum of players. I want to say a ton of these guys, but you can't really compare him to anybody. Who do you see with the stick handling that he has, the speed that he has, the explosiveness with the hits that he has, with the shot that he has? I mean, Carter Yakemchuk really looks like the closest thing to a unicorn, and he may have the highest upside out of anybody in this entire draft. I really think he's a very special player, and he's got to go to the right team, because all of that negative stuff, his temper, his penalty minutes, his inability to stop once he gets going, that can all be coached. I think someone's going to really embrace it, and say what you will, if you find a physical team that will embrace him, he's going to really thrive as a defenseman. He's someone that could maybe go top 5. Corey Promen has had him high on his list for the entire year, and I think that's indicative of a draft day reach that people may not expect, but I think the right people will. Carter Yakemchuk, I currently have him as my number 5 defenseman out of the big 6, but he may grow. I think he's a really awesome defenseman, so I think he may grow on me. Now moving on to Sam Dickinson of the OHL champion London Knights. He is the safest pick in this entire draft, I would say, after Macklin Celebrini and Ivan Demidov. But he is the safest defensive pick in this entire draft. He is so well-rounded, and people don't talk about this because it's not explosively elite of an offensive game like Carter Yakemchuk has, like Zeev Buium has, like Zayne Parekh has. He is a great shot. He is a great skating ability. His passing vision is incredible. He's very well developed in his game. And his defense, while I would like to see him use the body a little bit more, is fantastic. He's got the second best gap control, the second best defensive stick in this entire draft, and I don't think it's even close. Sam Dickinson looks really solid, and I think he's somebody who got even better as the season went along, and even in the playoffs as well. 13 points, I think it was, in 18 games. He was just very impressive to watch. I really was very big on Sam Dickinson. I didn't want him to fall too low for me because, again, he's so well-rounded. My player comparison for him was Aaron Ekblad, and minus all the injuries, Aaron Ekblad has been a fantastic NHLer for the Florida Panthers, and I think Sam Dickinson could bring that same presence, a very steady, calm, two-way guy who can score very well, maybe 40, 50 points a year for 15 to 16 years. He could be a stalwart on your blue line. Count on it. I really think Sam Dickinson is that guy, and I think he's a guy who can get you deep in the playoffs. So all those things and more, Sam Dickinson, he's at risk of falling low in this draft, and I think that's a really terrible reality because he's such a great complete defenseman. Now moving on to Zayne Parekh from the Saginaw Spirit, the hosts of the Memorial Cup this year in the OHL. Zayne Parekh had an amazing offensive season. He projects as one of the best offensive defenseman prospects, pure offensive defenseman prospects we've seen in a while. However, there is a big red flag because, again, he could project as Quinn Hughes. Oh my goodness, he could be him. But we've seen this before. Ryan Merkley, Henry Jokiharju, Adam Boqvist, those are all guys offensively dynamic in their draft years. What do they do after that? Nothing. And I'm really worried about Zayne Parekh and how his game is going to translate to the next level. Because yes, he's in the OHL now. He did shy away from contact. That was something that was very big that he did that I really hated. But nobody that we've seen prior has put up the numbers that he's done. 30 goals, 96 points. He really looks like the real deal. And he's somebody that I don't think I could pass on that early. And he's ranked as high as the second best to the best defenseman available in this entire draft. And I can see why. You look at the stick handling. You look at the scoring ability. You look at the passing ability. There's a lot to love there. No one is really as offensively dynamic as he is in this draft as a defenseman, but the defense, it's too much of a red flag for me. Yes, he's gotten better, but he hasn't used his body. He's not as physical. He only uses the stick. You'll see the stick checks. That's great. Use more body. That's all I really ask for Zayne. But again, big fan of him. Big fan of him offensively. I think what he can bring to a team offensively is just out of this world. He can give you a power play that will always score no matter what. So Zayne Parekh, one of my favorite defensemen. Even though he's my number 6 defenseman, I really think he has the highest offensive upside out of everybody here on this list. Now, last but certainly not least, Zeev Buium, my favorite defenseman in this entire draft class. Yes, I kind of planned it to have Zeev Buium at the bottom because I wanted to talk about him last because he is my favorite defenseman. And there's a lot of reasons why. I think, bottom line, he's probably the guy who has the highest upside with the lowest amount of risk. He played incredibly for Denver this year. He looked so good. He was one of the highest scoring players alone in the NCAA this year as a freshman, as a U18 freshman. He looked incredible in the World Juniors for USA, and always there's like that great under 18 player that shines for USA. It was Matty Beniers one year, it was Zeev Buium this year, and my goodness did he show up and show out. I'm a big fan of his skating. I'm a big fan of his puck control. I think he's got a great stance for his stick handling. Big fan of his shot. It's underutilized, but I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of his compete. However, his IQ. He is the smartest player far and away in this entire draft, and it's not even close. The things that he thinks of, he thinks the game so much faster than everyone else. He thinks the game 3 steps ahead. He's like a chess player. There are things that he does that his teammates aren't even expecting to set up, that he'll set up a chance, but he just does it. Pass along the boards, pass back to him. You'd never see a defenseman doing that. He's just going to change the way that defensemen are viewed on the rush, and I think you really can't compare him to anybody. I like the comparison that Corey Proman does to Morgan Riley, and I think him and Miro Heiskanen combined, that's Zeev. Because he's physical as hell. He's like a linebacker on the ice. He'll eat you. He's incredible. He has that same compete on offense. He has that same IQ in the defensive zone as he does in the offensive zone. There's the point production to back it up. He's going to lead a team someday to a deep playoff run. Mark my words, Zeev Buium is legit. He's the best defenseman in this class, in my opinion. And I think people really need to come up on him because I see drafts where he falls to 8, 9, 10, outside the top 10. That's insane. That's too far for me. I think he's a great player. Really consider watching more tape on him because, again, I want more people to see what I see in Zeev Buium. And that's going to be it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoy this type of video because I'm kind of going out on a limb. These 6 defensemen look very, very solid, and I think they're all projectable to the NHL, and they will all be stars of some level if they all develop right. I don't really see a flaw in a lot of these guys, barring Zayne Parekh's defense and Anton Silayev's offense. Those are really the only 2 outliers there. But I don't really see holes in a lot of their games and a lot of their issues. These are really well-developed defensemen. Probably some of the best developed defensemen I've seen out of a draft since, it's been since the 2022 draft. Simon Nemetz probably is probably better than most of these 6 guys that I can think of. But last draft, there wasn't a defenseman like this. It's really crazy because all 6 of these guys are better than all of the defensemen last year. And I will say that 100%. But yeah, this is a very interesting topic. I wanted to really talk about this because I didn't think I would be able to go in as much depth on any other video, because I think this needed to be its own video because we need to talk about these guys. We really did. So thank you so much for watching. Please comment below the order that you would take these defensemen. If you made it this far, I really want to see what you think about these defensemen. Please rank them for me. I would love to see how you rank these defensemen because I have my own views on it, and you can go back and watch my May rankings, watch my March rankings for how I rank these guys myself. But they're all very solid, and I don't think there's really a wrong answer for where you put each defenseman. But thank you so much for watching once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please consider following me on Spotify and on Instagram, because I post as much as I do on YouTube there. Thank you so much for watching once again. I really love the support. I'm your host, LinkedIn Sevich, signing off.